Imagine being forced out of your own country, losing your natural resources, having no oil, no farmland, very little fresh water, and almost no chance of surviving on your own. Most nations would collapse, but one tiny island did something nobody expected. Today, Singapore is one of the richest countries on Earth. Its passport is among the world's most powerful. Its airport is ranked among the best. Its citizens enjoy one of the highest living standards anywhere, and businesses from around the globe compete to invest there. But here's the mystery. How did a country with almost nothing become richer than nations blessed with oil, gold, and vast land? The answer isn't luck. It wasn't hidden treasure, and it certainly wasn't an accident. It was the result of bold decisions, relentless discipline, and a vision that transformed one of the poorest places in Asia into a global economic giant. This is the incredible story of Singapore.
At first glance, Singapore almost seems too small to matter. The entire country covers only about 735 square kilometers. You could drive across much of it in under an hour. Compared to giants like China, the United States, or even neighboring Malaysia, Singapore looks almost invisible on the map. Yet despite its size, its influence stretches across the world. Millions of shipping containers pass through its ports every year. Global banks manage billions of dollars from its financial district. Some of the world's biggest technology companies have chosen Singapore as their Asian headquarters. It is proof that in today's world, size alone does not determine success.
But this success hides an extraordinary past. Just a few decades ago, Singapore looked nothing like it does today. The streets were crowded, jobs were scarce, many families lived in poor housing, ethnic tensions threatened stability, and unemployment was rising. To make matters worse, Singapore had just experienced the greatest crisis in its modern history. It had been separated from Malaysia in 1965. Many believed the tiny nation had no future. Even some international observers predicted it would struggle to survive. For a country with almost no natural resources, no large domestic market, and uncertain neighbors, the future looked incredibly bleak. Few people believed Singapore could become independent. Even fewer believed it could become rich. Yet, in the middle of this uncertainty, one leader refused to accept failure. He believed Singapore's greatest resource wasn't buried underground. It was its people. That single belief would change everything. But turning that vision into reality required decisions so bold that they would completely reshape the future of the nation. And that's where our story truly begins. If you're enjoying this journey through history and want to discover how countries transformed themselves against the odds, take a moment to subscribe to Beyond Maps. We explore the stories behind the world's greatest civilizations, economies, and turning points, one documentary at a time. Now, let's see how Singapore convinced the world's biggest companies to invest in a nation that almost nobody believed in. On August 9, 1965, Singapore officially became an independent country. It wasn't the result of a long-planned celebration. It happened after Singapore separated from Malaysia following deep political and ethnic disagreements. For many citizens, independence brought more fear than excitement. The new nation had no proven path forward. Questions filled the air. Would businesses leave? Could the economy survive? Would neighboring countries accept this new state? No one had clear answers.
Leading the country at that difficult moment was Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. He understood that independence alone meant very little. The real challenge was creating a country people could trust. Factories were limited. Many young people struggled to find stable work. Foreign investors had little reason to choose Singapore over larger nations.
Without confidence, economic growth would remain only a dream. Instead of searching for quick victories, Singapore's leaders focused on something far more important. They built strong institutions. Laws were enforced consistently. Public officials were expected to meet high standards. Government agencies were organized to solve problems efficiently rather than create more bureaucracy. Their message to investors was simple. If you build your business here, your investment will be protected, your contracts will be respected, and the rules will apply to everyone. In a region where many countries struggled with instability, that promise became one of Singapore's greatest strengths. But creating trust alone wasn't enough. Singapore still faced another challenge. Its people needed jobs, not years later, but immediately. The government knew that without employment, economic progress would remain out of reach. So instead of waiting for industries to arrive, Singapore decided to compete for them. It began offering companies something they valued more than cheap land: a reliable place to do business. That decision would completely reshape the country's future. Within just a few years, ships began arriving. Factories started opening. International companies took notice. What had once seemed impossible was slowly becoming reality. But the biggest transformation wasn't happening in the ports. It was happening inside Singapore's classrooms. And that decision would change the country's future for generations. Attracting international businesses was only the first step. For Singapore to compete with the world's best economies, it needed something every successful company depends on: a highly skilled workforce. Instead of relying on chance, Singapore invested heavily in education. Schools focused not only on academic subjects, but also on science, engineering, technology, and practical skills that employers actually needed. The goal was simple: prepare young people for the jobs of tomorrow, not the jobs of yesterday. Education wasn't treated as an expense. It was treated as an investment. As each generation became more skilled, businesses found it easier to hire talented workers. Higher skills led to better jobs. Better jobs created higher incomes. And higher incomes helped improve the quality of life across the country. It became a cycle of continuous progress. But economic growth brought another challenge. As more people moved into cities, housing quickly became a serious problem. Without affordable homes, prosperity would benefit only a small part of the population. So, Singapore introduced one of the world's largest public housing programs. Modern apartment communities were built across the country. Today, the majority of Singapore's residents live in homes developed through this system. These neighborhoods weren't simply places to live. They included schools, parks, healthcare facilities, and public transportation. By planning communities carefully, Singapore created cities designed for everyday life. The government also understood another important lesson: time is money. Roads were expanded. Ports became more efficient. Public transportation connected neighborhoods across the island. And one airport, Changi Airport, would eventually become one of the most respected airports in the world. For businesses, fast transportation meant lower costs. For residents, it meant greater convenience. Infrastructure wasn't simply about moving people. It became a competitive advantage. There was one more obstacle that could have stopped everything: corruption. Many developing nations lose valuable investment because businesses fear unfair treatment. Singapore took a different path. The government strengthened anti-corruption laws and created institutions responsible for investigating misconduct. The goal was straightforward: create an environment where decisions were based on rules rather than personal connections. This helped strengthen confidence in the country's institutions and business environment. Within a single generation, Singapore had transformed itself, not because it discovered natural resources, but because it invested in its people, its infrastructure, and the systems that allowed businesses to succeed. Yet even with these remarkable achievements, Singapore still faced a challenge that few people expected. How do you continue growing when your country has almost no room left to expand? The answer would push Singapore into an entirely new era. By the early years of the 21st century, Singapore was no longer trying to prove it could survive. Now, it had a different ambition: to become one of the world's most important business and transportation hubs. Despite its small size, Singapore sits beside one of the busiest shipping routes on Earth. Every day, thousands of ships pass through nearby waters, carrying goods between Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Instead of simply watching this global trade, Singapore became one of its most important gateways. The port of Singapore grew into one of the busiest container ports in the world. Products from every continent arrive here before continuing to destinations across the globe. From electronics to clothing to machinery, millions of containers move through the port every year. For Singapore, this isn't just transportation. It's a major source of economic activity that connects the country to international trade.
Singapore also looked beyond the sea. It transformed Changi Airport into one of the world's leading aviation hubs. Passengers don't simply pass through Singapore. Many choose to stop, do business, attend international conferences, or begin new investments. This constant flow of people, ideas, and opportunities has helped strengthen Singapore's role in the global economy.
As the world entered the digital age, Singapore adapted once again. The country encouraged growth in technology, finance, biotechnology, and advanced manufacturing. Today, many international companies have established regional offices there, serving customers across Southeast Asia and beyond. Rather than depending on a single industry, Singapore built an economy supported by multiple sectors. That diversity has helped the country adapt to changing global markets.
But no success story is without challenges. Singapore remains one of the most densely populated countries in the world. Land is limited. Housing demand remains high. The cost of living can be expensive. And as the global economy changes, Singapore must continue finding new ways to stay competitive. For a country with limited space, standing still is never an option. Innovation isn't just an advantage, it's a necessity. Today, Singapore continues investing in technology, sustainability, and digital innovation. The goal is not simply to protect today's success, but to prepare for tomorrow's challenges. That mindset has become one of the country's defining characteristics. Always planning, always adapting, always looking ahead. Singapore's journey is extraordinary, not because it avoided every obstacle, but because it kept finding new ways to overcome them. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. The world's most successful nations aren't those that never face challenges. They're the ones that continue adapting long after others stop changing. But one final question remains. What is the single biggest lesson every country can learn from Singapore's remarkable transformation? That's where our story ends. When people look at Singapore today, they often see the impressive skyline, the modern city, and the thriving economy. But those are only the visible results. The real achievement cannot be measured by buildings alone. It can be seen in the country's ability to keep moving forward, even as the world around it continues to change. Success is not something Singapore reached. It's something it continues to work for every single day.
The world is changing faster than ever. Artificial intelligence, climate change, new technologies, and shifting global markets are creating challenges that no country can ignore. Singapore understands that yesterday's success does not guarantee tomorrow's success. That is why it continues to invest in research, innovation, and preparing for the future. Not because it has all the answers, but because it knows standing still is the greatest risk of all.
Perhaps the greatest lesson Singapore offers isn't about becoming rich. It's about thinking beyond the present. Great nations are not built by one generation alone. They are shaped by people who make decisions knowing the greatest rewards may be enjoyed by those who come after them. That kind of long-term thinking is difficult, but history shows that it can change the future of an entire nation. Singapore's journey reminds us that no country is destined for greatness, and no country is destined to fail. The future is shaped by choices. Choices made in classrooms, in businesses, in government, and by ordinary people who refuse to stop improving. That is what transformed a small island into one of the world's most respected nations. Not a miracle, not luck, but decades of vision, discipline, and determination. The story of Singapore is not just about one country. It's a reminder that even the biggest challenges can become the foundation for extraordinary success. Sometimes, the greatest advantage isn't what a nation begins with, but what it chooses to become. Every country has a story. Some are built through conflict, others through discovery, and some through remarkable determination. Here on Beyond Maps, we'll continue uncovering the history, geography, and hidden stories that shaped our world. If you enjoyed this documentary, please leave a like, subscribe to Beyond Maps, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next journey. Now we'd love to hear from you. Which country should we explore next? Leave your answer in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and until our next adventure, remember this: every map shows where a country is. Beyond Maps shows why it became what it is. See you in the next documentary.